In a distant galaxy, a group of young alien medical students gathered in the bright, sterile halls of the Galactic Academy. Their mission was clear: to study the human species, Earth's most fascinating yet puzzling life forms. The aliens had heard many strange tales about humans, but they needed to understand them better. They knew that humans survived the harshest conditions, but they never quite understood how. So, they set out for Earth, ready to learn. The students arrived on Earth and were taken to a remote research station where they would observe a human astronaut named Captain Ethan Williams. He had been part of a dangerous space mission that had gone wrong. A communication failure had left him stranded on a distant planet with no hope of rescue. His spaceship had crashed, and he was now alone on an alien world. His mission was to gather samples, but instead, he had to survive in a place where the weather was deadly and resources were scarce. The alien students watched in awe as Captain Williams worked tirelessly to survive. At first, they didn't understand why he wasn't giving up. He was injured, his ship was destroyed, and he was surrounded by unknown dangers. Yet, day after day, he kept moving. He built shelter, scavenged food, and made tools from the wreckage of his ship. The students couldn't comprehend how a single human could survive such conditions. The students were especially puzzled by the captain's calmness. Most of them would have panicked in such a situation, but not Williams. The human seemed to have a deep inner peace, even when faced with the harshest elements. The aliens began to study him more closely, trying to understand the key to his survival. One day, after watching him work for hours, one of the students, Zora, asked her professor, "Why does he keep going? Isn't he scared? Doesn't he know he might never get off this planet?" The professor, a wise old alien named Lorik, answered with a slow, thoughtful look. Humans are not like other species. They have something special. It is not just their physical strength or their advanced tools. It is their spirit. Humans are driven by a deep will to survive. Even in the most hopeless of situations, they never give up. Zora and the other students thought about this for a long time. They saw that Williams wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. Even when the planet's atmosphere became poisonous, or when storms raged across the landscape, he found a way to adapt. He worked with determination and hope, never letting the environment defeat him. The students saw how humans were different from the other species they had studied. While other species depended solely on their physical abilities or technology, humans relied on their minds and hearts. Williams had created a system of communication with Earth, using the limited resources he had. He never gave up on finding a way to signal for help, even when the chances seemed slim. The students were amazed at his resilience. Then, something unexpected happened. A massive storm hit the planet, and the research station was damaged. The aliens feared for their safety, but Captain Williams did not hesitate. He helped the students fix the station and even risked his life to gather the supplies they needed. The alien students, who had once looked at humans as fragile, now saw them in a new light. The storm passed, and the captain's determination had saved them all. Zora spoke quietly to her professor. He didn't have to help us. He could have focused only on himself. Why did he risk his life for us? Professor Lorik smiled and said, "Because humans are not only survivors. They are protectors. They fight for each other, no matter the cost. It's a part of who they are." As the days passed, the students saw more examples of human strength. They watched as Captain Williams slowly recovered from his injuries, and they marveled at how quickly his body healed. But it wasn't just his physical recovery that amazed them. It was his mental and emotional strength. When they had asked him about his survival, he had said, "I never gave up because I knew I wasn't alone. Even in the darkest moments, I remembered my family, my team, and my mission. That kept me going." The alien students began to realize that human survival was more than just a physical feat. It was about their connection to others, their deep sense of purpose, and their ability to keep moving forward no matter what. The captain's survival wasn't just about food, water, or shelter. It was about hope, love, and the drive to never give up. The students' perspective on life began to change. They had thought that survival was simply about adapting to one's environment or overcoming physical obstacles. But they now understood that humans survived because of their ability to hold on to something greater than themselves. The captain had survived because he had a reason to keep going. His reason was not just to save himself, but to save others. ASA the aliens returned to their home planet. They carried the lessons they had learned from Captain Williams with them. They realized that human beings were more than just a species. They were a symbol of resilience, hope, and the power of the human spirit. They had learned that humans could survive anything not because of their strength or technology, but because of their unshakable will to live and protect those they loved. The alien students, once curious about how humans could survive, now understood the true miracle of human existence. They had witnessed the incredible power of the human spirit, and they would never forget it. Far beyond the stars, in a distant corner of the galaxy, a group of alien medical students were preparing for an important mission. They had heard stories of a species called humans, Earth's inhabitants, and how they had managed to survive against impossible odds. These stories puzzled the aliens, who believed survival was purely a matter of strength, intelligence, and technology. Humans, on the other hand, seemed to defy all logic. Their survival wasn't just about physical power or tools, it was something deeper. The students were determined to uncover the truth. The alien students arrived on Earth, excited and eager to begin their research. They were taken to a war-torn area where humans had recently battled against an alien invasion. The aliens were sure that humans would be weak in such a fight. After all, they were not the strongest species in the galaxy. But what they saw amazed them. Despite being outnumbered and under-equipped, the humans fought back fiercely. A small group of soldiers, led by Captain Sarah Matthews, stood against the invaders with nothing more than their courage and determination. The alien students watched as humans fought not just for their own survival, but for the survival of their families, friends, and entire civilization. Each time the invaders pushed forward, the humans pushed back. They never gave up, no matter the cost. The aliens were left speechless. Captain Matthews was the heart of the human resistance. She had been through countless battles, lost many of her comrades, and faced almost certain death more times than she could count. Yet, every time, she stood tall, never giving up. Her eyes, filled with pain and loss, still burned with the fire of hope. She wasn't just fighting for victory, she was fighting for something much bigger. She was fighting for humanity's future. The alien students noticed something strange. Despite the terrible conditions, the humans' will to survive never weakened. They watched as Captain Matthews led her team through the smoke-filled streets, facing down the invaders with unmatched bravery. The humans' bodies were bruised and battered, but their spirits remained unbroken. They had no advanced weapons, no superhuman abilities, yet they kept fighting. They didn't give in to fear or despair. One student, Zarn, approached his professor with a puzzled look on his face. "How is this possible?" he asked. "They don't have the strength of our species, and their technology is far behind ours. How are they still fighting?" Professor Virok, an experienced and wise alien, smiled gently and replied, "It's not their strength or technology that makes humans unstoppable. It's their will. When humans face impossible odds, they don't back down. They fight because they believe in something bigger than themselves. They fight for their families, their homes, and their future." Zarn stared at Captain Matthews, who was leading a counterattack against a much stronger alien force. He watched as she kept moving forward, rallying her soldiers even when it seemed like they would lose. No matter how many times they were knocked down, the humans would get back up again. It was as if they couldn't be defeated, not by weapons, not by enemies, and not even by death itself. Over time, the students began to understand. Humans survived not because of their physical power, but because of their deep, unshakable determination. They fought for each other, for love, and for a better future. The alien students had seen species far more powerful than humans, but none had the same unstoppable will to fight for survival. Days passed, and the battle raged on. The alien students watched as the humans continued to surprise them. Captain Matthews and her team fought not just for themselves, but for the entire world. Even when faced with certain defeat, they would not give up. The human strength came from within, from their belief that no matter how dark the world became, the aliens began to realize that humans' true power was not in their bodies or their technology. It was in their hearts and minds. The soldiers had no guarantee of survival, but they fought anyway. They didn't give up because they believed they could win, even when the universe itself seemed to be against them. One night, after a long day of fierce fighting, Captain Matthews stood alone, looking out over the battlefield. Her uniform was torn, her face covered in dirt, but her eyes were clear and focused. The alien students watched from a distance, amazed by the strength she displayed, both physically and mentally. "Why don't they give up?" Zarn asked his professor again, this time with a sense of wonder in his voice. Professor Virok looked at the humans, then back at Zarn. "Because they know that no matter how many times they fall, they can rise again. They know that every battle they fight, every moment they survive, brings them one step closer to winning. It's not just about surviving, it's about never giving up, no matter the odds." In the end, the humans triumphed. Against all odds, they pushed back the alien invaders and reclaimed their world. The alien students returned to their planet, forever changed. They had learned something incredible during their time on Earth. They had learned that survival wasn't just about physical strength or advanced technology. It was about the human spirit, a force that could not be stopped. The aliens, once so sure of their superiority, now understood that the true power of humanity lay in their unstoppable will. The humans had faced the universe's most terrifying forces and emerged victorious, not because they were the strongest, but because they never ever gave you p.I. In the vast, cold expanse of space. A group of young alien medical students were about to embark on a journey that would change everything they thought they knew about survival. For years, they had studied countless species across the galaxy, but there was one that always baffled them: the humans of Earth. They had heard stories of their incredible strength, their ability to survive in the most extreme environments, and their determination to keep going even when all hope seemed lost. But the aliens couldn't quite understand why. Why did humans never give up? The alien students arrived on Earth and were immediately struck by the harshness of the human world. The environment was unpredictable and dangerous. Yet, the humans seemed to thrive. The students set out to study them closely, hoping to find the secret to their resilience. The students' first stop was a small village where humans had lived for generations. They had survived many hardships, wars, famine, disease, but they never gave up. The alien students watched as the villagers worked together to rebuild after a devastating storm. Their homes had been destroyed, but the humans didn't waste time mourning what they lost. Instead, they focused on what they could do next. They shared food, helped each other rebuild, and made sure no one was left behind. One of the students, Lyra, was particularly fascinated by a human woman named Emma. Despite losing everything in the storm, Emma never stopped working. She didn't complain or give up, even when it seemed like the situation was hopeless. Lyra asked Emma why she kept going. Emma smiled softly and said, "I don't have a choice. People depend on me. I have to keep going, even when it's hard." Lyra was amazed. She had never seen a species like humans before. They were so much weaker physically than the aliens, yet they had a strength that was beyond anything Lyra could understand. The humans didn't just survive, they kept moving forward because they cared about each other. They were connected, not just by family, but by a deep sense of responsibility to one another. It wasn't just about personal survival, it was about helping others survive, too. The alien students moved on to a nearby city, where they found an entirely different example of human resilience. This time, they met a soldier named Jack, who had been part of a military operation that went terribly wrong. The enemy forces had overwhelmed his team, and Jack had been left for dead. But somehow, Jack managed to survive. He had been wounded, exhausted, and outnumbered, yet he managed to crawl his way to safety, motivated by the thought of returning to his family. When the students met Jack, he was recovering in a hospital, his body broken, but his spirit unshaken. Lyra asked him how he had survived such an ordeal. Jack looked at her with tired eyes, but smiled. "I wasn't fighting for myself," he said. "I was fighting for the people I love. I couldn't let them down. That's what kept me going." The alien students were speechless. They had studied countless species and had never seen anything like it. Humans survived, not just because they were tough, but because they had something far stronger, a sense of love and duty that pushed them to keep fighting. Whether it was for their families, their friends, or even strangers, humans had an incredible drive to protect and care for others. The students continued their journey, observing humans in various situations. They saw parents caring for sick children, doctors risking their lives to save patients, and workers rebuilding after disasters. Everywhere they looked, they saw humans giving everything they had for others. It wasn't just a physical strength that allowed them to survive, it was an emotional and mental strength that made them unstoppable. One day, the students met an elderly man named George who had lost his wife years ago. Despite his grief, George had never stopped helping others. He worked at a community center, offering support to people who were struggling with their own losses. He told the students, "The pain never really goes away, but if I can help someone else through their hard times, then it's worth it." The students couldn't believe what they were hearing. George wasn't just surviving his own pain, he was using it to help others. This was something the aliens had never seen before. Humans didn't just endure suffering, they found ways to turn it into strength, to help others through their struggles. By the end of their time on Earth, the alien students had learned something profound. They had come to Earth looking for the secret to human survival, and they had found it. It wasn't just about physical strength or advanced technology, it was about the human touch. Humans survived because they cared for each other. They fought for their loved ones, they helped strangers, and they never gave up because they always believed in a better tomorrow. The students returned to their home planet, forever changed by what they had witnessed. They understood now why humans never gave up. It wasn't because they were the strongest or the smartest, it was because they had a deep, unshakable bond with one another. They survived because they knew that, no matter how hard life got, they weren't alone. As the alien students reflected on their experiences, they realized that perhaps they had been wrong to think that survival was purely about strength. Humans had something that no other species could replicate: a unique ability to survive through love, hope, and the desire to never give up on each other. In the far reaches of the universe, a group of alien students studied many species. They traveled across galaxies, learning about the strengths and weaknesses of countless life forms. However, there was one species that always puzzled them: the humans of Earth. The aliens had heard stories of human survival in the face of extreme dangers. They knew humans were resilient, but the students wanted to understand what made them truly strong. Was it their physical strength? Their technology? Or was there something more? To find out, the alien students decided to travel to Earth and observe the humans in their natural environment. They arrived on the planet and were immediately struck by the variety of challenges humans faced. Their world was full of dangers, disease, natural disasters, wars, but humans continued to survive. The aliens couldn't help but wonder, how did they do it? Their first stop was a small town in the middle of a vast desert. The humans living there faced extreme heat, limited water, and a harsh environment. Yet, the town thrived. The alien students watched as the humans worked together to grow crops, build homes, and care for one another. The aliens were amazed at how the humans never gave up, no matter how difficult the conditions were. It was as if the people were not just surviving, they were building something better, something stronger. One of the students, Kieran, approached a local farmer named Tom and asked, "How do you manage to live here, in such a harsh place?" "What keeps you going?" Tom smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. "It's not about surviving the desert," he said. "It's about the people. We help each other out. When one person struggles, the rest of us step in. We're stronger when we work together." The alien students were puzzled. It wasn't just the desert that humans had to survive, it was the emotional weight of living in such a place. Yet, instead of feeling defeated, they seemed to draw strength from each other. The students realized that humans were not just surviving their environment, they were finding strength in community. Next, the students traveled to a large city, where they met a woman named Maria. She was a nurse working in a hospital that was overrun with patients during a deadly disease outbreak. Despite the overwhelming number of sick people, Maria never lost hope. She worked long hours, caring for everyone she could. The alien students watched in awe as Maria showed no signs of exhaustion, even though she had been awake for days. Lyra, one of the students, asked Maria, "How do you keep going when you're so tired?" "There's no end in sight. How do you not give up?" Maria looked at her with tired but determined eyes. It's not just about fighting the disease. It's about giving these people hope. As long as I can make a difference, I keep going. Even when I'm tired, I know that what I do matters. Every life saved is worth it. The students were stunned. Maria wasn't just fighting to survive. She was giving others the strength to keep going. She understood that survival was not just about staying alive. It was about helping others live, too. The aliens had never seen such selflessness before. To them, survival was a solitary act. But humans had something different. They had a strength that came from helping each other, from supporting those around them even when they were struggling themselves. Later, the students met a young man named Ethan, who had been a soldier in a war. Ethan had seen the worst of humanity, battlefields filled with destruction and loss. He had lost many friends and had been injured in the line of duty. But when the students met him, they saw that he was not broken. He was determined to rebuild his life, to create something positive out of the darkness he had experienced. Ethan shared his story with the students. "I've lost so much," he said, "but I can't let it define me. I have to keep going because I know I can make a difference. If I can help one person, if I can give one person hope, then it's worth everything I've been through." The alien students were moved by his words. They realized that humans had a unique ability to find strength in the face of unimaginable hardship. Instead of letting their pain break them, humans used it to fuel their determination to keep going, to help others, and to create a better world. In their final observation, the students witnessed a natural disaster that struck a coastal city. A massive earthquake had caused widespread damage, and many people had lost their homes. The alien students watched as humans worked together to rescue trapped survivors, provide food and shelter, and rebuild their communities. The humans didn't stop because they were tired or scared or facing impossible odds. They kept going because they understood that survival wasn't just about the individual, it was about everyone. One of the students, Zarn, turned to his professor and said, "I don't understand. How can they keep going even when everything seems lost? Why do they never give up?" Professor Vairak, the wisest of the students, smiled and replied, "Humans are different from us. Their strength doesn't come from their bodies or their technology, it comes from their hearts. They survive not just for themselves, but for others. They fight for their loved ones, their communities, and their future. It's a strength that cannot be measured in any scientific way. It's the hidden strength that makes them unstoppable." The students returned to their home planet, forever changed by what they had witnessed on Earth. They had learned that humans had something truly remarkable, a hidden strength that allowed them to rise above any challenge, to keep going when the odds were against them, and to build a better world, no matter how difficult the journey. The alien students now understood that humans were more than survivors, they were creators, protectors, and dreamers. Their strength was not just physical or technological, but a deep emotional power that came from their unshakable will to live and help others live as well.